Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and I really wanted to get into something that I would say is pretty heated right now online, and that is The Ones Who Live, and I guess it's ending and stuff. And a lot of people right now, it seems like anyways, are not liking The Ones Who Live. Like, it seems like as time goes on, there's a lot more complaints about the show. So I was like, you know what? I want to give some thoughts on this and just talk about The Ones Who Live and talk about some issues that I do have, but also talk about a lot of things that I really do love about the show and just sort of give my thoughts on what's going on with all of this stuff in general here. So yeah, if you do want more Walking Dead content like this, then definitely make sure to be a subscriber. Now, I saw some of this in the Discord. There were some people arguing about this in general, and then I've seen a lot of videos being posted online about this. I haven't watched anything, so I don't know anyone's opinion on anything like that, but I've seen the complaints and stuff like that, and a lot of people saying that The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live really, looking back at it now, it's very, very disappointing and overall just like a bad show. And which does remind me, I totally forgot, I just saw it in the Discord here. I will actually be reviewing and sort of rating all of the custom finales here, because a lot of people wrote their own version of the finale episode here. So I'm gonna obviously rate all of that, and then I'll do a video on that sometime over the next week here, because there's actually quite a bit here. But anyways, I will say, in general, just in terms of people not liking the Ones Who Live finale, and it's so I will say in terms of my obviously when I watched the episode, I was disappointed in the episode. That was sort of my review of it, was obviously, some of the episode was good and it was really cool to see certain moments. The ending moment with Rick, Michonne, Judith, and RJ was just amazing. Obviously, it was really amazing to see, but my criticisms of it was too rushed. Yes, it was cool to see that scene, but I feel like you want to earn scenes like that. And yes, you can make the argument, well, obviously, we've been waiting years and years this, this was earned or whatever. I don't think it was earned at all. You can wait years and years. We only got 6 episodes. The first 5 episodes, yeah, I think they were telling that story awesomely, but I just think that finale episode rushed it quite a bit. I think if we had an extra 2 episodes, 8 episodes, and they explored things a lot more and they paced it better, made those episodes a bit longer, then yeah, you could have done a really amazing last episode there where you had everyone reunite, and I think, just not have it feel so rushed, right? But that was basically my complaints overall with it, was that. But, does it affect the series overall? I don't think it affects the series that much. It does affect my rewatch ability of it though. I'm definitely not that excited watching that show, I don't know if I could ever really go back and rewatch The Ones Who Live and just be so excited about the ending because of how it ends. It really is disappointing. The CRM arc, it is very disappointing, and I remember when I posted my review for it, because I know a lot of people didn't like what I was saying about it and the fact that I was disappointed. And I honestly was I always post my reviews and I'm just honest with how I feel. And I felt am I missing something here? Because everyone seemed to be saying, no, it was amazing, this and that. But then the next day, happened. And then, you started to see a lot more of the same response. So a lot of people were also very mixed on it and felt disappointed. So yes, the finale I do think was disappointing, but was the finale in any way a really horrible episode where it ruins the entire series? No, it doesn't. In my opinion, it really does not do that. I think the series it's a really great series to watch. It's a very phenomenal series. I do think personally Daryl Dixon season 1 is better overall. I think there's moments in The Ones Who Live that are just, better than any of the other series, other moments in those other series. But I just think as a whole, Daryl Dixon season 1 is a much better story, at least for me personally, because I really love variant walkers and I like that kind of stuff. I really like when they get into some of the bigger world stuff and there's variant walkers and things just seem so crazy like that. That's where I really like the story here. And that's what I really liked The Walking Dead for. Obviously the characters make that more grounded, and I think that's what I've always loved about The Walking Dead. It was never really a drama first. It was always the other stuff happening, but the fact that they were able to tell these really amazing character stories really well, it was just so perfect. And I think The Ones Who Live, it was definitely a mix of both, and that's why I think overall I do like episode 1 as my favorite episode, because it really went into the bigger world stuff, right? But episode 4 I think was probably the best written episode, and that episode, honestly, because it's been so long, Rick and Michonne just haven't caught up on anything, and by episode 4 we were all just okay, you guys need to catch up on a bunch of stuff, because yes, you guys have reunited and all that stuff is cool, but you just really wanted them to just sit down and talk about everything. And they did. really amazing episode. I would say, like, again, I prefer episode 1. That is my favorite. But when I look at all 6, episode 4 definitely was probably like the best episode. And everyone's saying it is. And if it wins a bunch of awards and all that, yeah, I totally understand why. That makes the most sense. And that's what I mean. I think the show honestly was really incredible. And episode 6, yes, it does, they did rush a lot of things, but I think that it still does honor a lot of those storylines still pretty well, where you can go back and watch The Ones Who Live and still enjoy a lot of that. I just think where things were really disappointing, honestly, is more with the CRM arc. I think for me, that is more of that, because obviously when I saw Judith and RJ first see Rick and Michonne for the first time in a long time, I got really emotional. Really amazing moment. It was honestly really incredible. Looking back at it, obviously, like, your opinions can change and stuff. And I do think that, yeah, definitely things were rushed. Just seeing the scene in general, because it's been years, obviously I wanted to see that. But I think in terms of the CRM arc, yes, that was definitely something that was very, very disappointing. And I can see the complaint that people have, in terms of just looking back at, the CRM mark over the years and seeing some stuff set up in, The Walking Dead and some of the stuff with World Beyond, and being like, wow, this story was supposed to be so amazing. It was supposed to connect everything. It was going to be like this big story, and it just ended in such a very disappointing way, with Major General Beale just dying so fast, right? And I totally get that, because that is how I feel about it. And that's honestly something that I get it. I do honestly get it. It doesn't affect, watching The Ones Who Live that much, but it does a bit. Like I was saying, like, it does hurt my rewatchability of the show a bit, because I'm not that excited about it anymore. Like, it does change the context of The Ones Who Live. Like, watching that show now, I am mostly watching for Rick and Michonne, and the CRM arc, I'm honestly just lowering my expectations for that arc and just sort of being like, well, that really was nothing overall, right? That's sort of, in my head, that's how I view it all. And I think that that's, for people who are definitely very excited about the CRM arc, I totally get it. I understand the frustrations and just being upset about all of that, because that's honestly how I feel about it too. But to say that it ruins the show and it makes the show very bad and all that, that is something that I definitely do disagree with. I think the show was phenomenal. It was a really great show. And again, I still prefer Daryl Dixon, but that's more of a personal preference. The show to me was a very phenomenal show and was a big success for AMC. And I'm very happy that the show existed, and I'm so happy that we finally had that story told. I do think, though, in terms of where you can save a lot of, what happened, like, yes, they killed off Major General Beale, and that is something that is, I think, going to be frustrating for a lot of people, but I think they can change the story here a lot. Rick and Michonne aren't gone. Like, their story's not just like done and they're never going to appear in the Walking Dead universe ever again. Like, we are going to see them again. There's probably going to be a new series or a season 2. Obviously it's in very early stages. There's no official confirmation. Andrew Lincoln said there's characters, like, we've talked about that. And that's the thing. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of people, whenever I say stuff like this, I always see a couple of comments of people saying, no, the show is done. Like, why don't you understand that the show is done? And I'm telling you, it's not. Like, I see these comments so much. It was the same thing with, like, before, The Ones Who Live was even out. There was so many people saying, no, Rick is done with the show, this and that, or Andrew Lincoln was done with the show. And then when we were waiting for the trailer, a lot of people were saying the same thing. It was just like, well, no, the trailer's not coming out, this and that. And it's just, when you look at what they said, Andrew Lincoln was like talking about the fact that they talked about that in depth, just like, when would Rick reunite with Daryl and the other characters and stuff like that. And this was a lot of the talks in terms of, like, writing The Ones Who Live and all of that. So that there are plans for stuff that are going to happen in the future. It's not like official plans, but there's ideas out there, basically. There's nothing official. There's nothing like, they're working on the story, though I'm sure Gimple is working on the story. Denai Guerrera, I think that she wants to be a part of the story. It seems like she has ideas on where it's going to go. But I just wonder if they're going to take a little bit of a break here from everything, and then we'll just kind of see where things go in the future. But it looks like that is going to be something that does happen at some point. It's just that right now it's sort of, we're just kind of waiting right now, right? And we're just going to, let The Ones Who Live just sort of, what aired, people, had time to process it, just let some time sort of go on, and then, we'll work on the next part of the story here. And I think that's where they can really fix a lot of the issues with The Ones Who Live. First of all, give it more episodes. Dead City is doing that. I think it's a really incredible thing, but fix a lot of the stuff with the CRM arc. A lot of people were looking forward to that arc. Yes, Major General Beale doesn't have to be the big villain here. That's totally fine. That could have just just been our expectations of what that arc was going to be, but maybe have the CRM arc more involved and just change a lot of that to make it a lot more exciting, you know? And they could easily do that. There's Mason Beal. Like, there's a lot of areas that they're able to go here with the next series, or if it's going to be a season 2 or whatever it's going to be. And, you know, obviously the reunions with Daryl and everyone else, that's going to be a really exciting part to it. Just where do they go in general? You know, there's Madame Janae. Is she a villain for the Daryl show, or is she going to be the big end game villain here? Like, I do think for Gimple, you know, there was a lot of ideas that he had, and he made certain choices over the last couple of years here that, in terms of writing and all that, that obviously people don't like, in terms of, you know, the CRM and killing off Major General Beal, that I think that he's going to try and correct a lot of this, because this has happened a lot before where they'll make a decision and a lot of people don't like it, and then they correct it afterwards. Like Carl's death, you know, they would correct that afterwards as well. Like, they did a 6-year time jump and then introduced RJ, right? Like, everyone was like, you know, you're never going to replace Carl, but it did help a bit in terms of feeling like Rick Grimes' legacy is going to live on, right? Like, you have Judith and RJ, and also now Judith is older, you know, to actually have dialogue, because beforehand Judith, you know, she was 3 or 4 years old. Like, she had no dialogue at all, or just like barely any. So I think people did like that change just sort of overall. And so, you know, I do kind of view it like they are going to fix this, that they will fix a lot of the issues with the CRM mark. And so that's why, to me, I'm not really, you know, going to be freaking out that much about, you know, the way they ended The Ones Who Live. Yes, I was disappointed in the end, but I don't think it ruins the whole series overall. Like, it definitely doesn't. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to kind of talk about this and give my thoughts on like the ending, and sort of, you know, because like people still talk about it. Like, whenever I do videos on The Ones Who Live, or I talk about, or just sort of mention anything with Rick and Michonne, you know, like the show, like people seem to get very upset about things and like don't even want to talk about it. Or if I even complain about it a little bit, you know, a lot of people are getting mad at me for complaining about it. So it's just kind of interesting in general, because, you know, a lot of people really love the show up until that finale, and you can just tell right now that finale is still something that people don't really want to talk about, really. Or it's like, when someone mentions it, it's just, I don't know, I've seen some people complain about it, you know, comparing it to like other shows like Game of Thrones and the way that show ended and stuff, and I don't think it was that bad. It definitely wasn't that bad. Like, because the thing is, with Game of Thrones, you can't really fix the ending or fix, you know, the pacing issues and all of that. With The Ones Who Live, yes, you can fix the pacing issues, and there's certain things that they did, but because we know that Rick and Michonne are likely going to be back at some point in the future, you can change still the CRM arc and make it, you know, a little bit more exciting, and you can still sort of correct some of that there. And also, you know, the show, in terms of what it gave us, I think did a really good job. You know, there wasn't an issue with The Ones Who Live all season. I think with Game of Thrones, there was an issue with Game of Thrones for like the last couple of seasons, like the last 2 seasons for sure. You could argue 3, but for sure the last 2 seasons there were some issues with Game of Thrones. And with The Ones Who Live, it really was just the last episode. So I don't know. I don't really view it as being the same thing, but definitely post your thoughts down below. How did you feel about The Ones Who Live's ending? Did you think that it ruined the entire series, or do you like how it ended? Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.